Docker volume or Docker data volume. So these are the topics we are going to talk about. What is and why you want to use data volume. We're going to actually see how we can add a data volume, and then we are going to see how we can mount a host directory as a data volume. And then we are going to see how we can create a volume, and we'll see how volume container, meaning container that provides the volume that can be accessed by other containers. And then we are going to see how we can backup, restore, and migrate volumes. So what is and why data volume? So containers are kind of transitional, meaning once a container is removed, it is gone along with the data it created. But in many cases, in many scenarios, you want to preserve the data that has been created while the container is up and running. So that's basically what the volume is all about. Okay, so you want to preserve the data even if the container no longer runs, meaning in exited status, or the container is removed. Okay. An example is that you're running an application that gathers some data and then creates a file or writes to a database and so on, and you want to preserve these files and database even if the container is removed, so that the data can be actually used by another container. Okay, so that's the idea of volume or data volume. So volumes are designed to persist data independent of the container's lifecycle. So regardless whether the container is removed, you want to have that data to be persisted. So Docker therefore never automatically delete volume. So once the volume is created, Docker will not automatically delete that volume even if the container that creates the data is removed. And it will not garbage collect volumes that are no longer referenced by a container. So if you want to remove those volumes that are not being used by containers, then you can prune it. Okay, so we're going to see how we can do all those in the hands-on lab. Okay, so let's see how we can add a data volume or volume. So you can add a data volume to a container by using -v flag with docker create or docker run command. Okay. Oh, excuse me. You can use -v multiple times to mount the multiple data volumes. Sorry about that. So this is the command, the examples. You can say docker run and then --name container1, so just giving a name to that container, -it, which you can run that container in interactive mode. And then here we are adding two volumes, data and data2. Okay. And you can use volume instruction in Docker file to add add one or more volumes to any container created from that image. So if you're creating Docker file, you can use this volume command. So by using volume command, you can you basically mount a directory inside your container and store any files created and edited inside that directory on your host disk. Basically, whatever that gets created will be in fact persisted in the Docker machine's host disk, and that is outside container's file structure. Basically, the bypassing union file system. So union file system is actually per container basis, and the volume, data volume, is outside of that file system, meaning it gets persisted regardless of the life cycle of the container. Okay, and once the volume is created, then it can be shared among containers, and they will persist. They will stay around as long as there is a container that references to them. Okay, okay, so let's actually see how we can create a data volume. So exercise 1. So you are going to download and unzip it. So let me just to see if I had unzipped it or not. Okay, so I have not unzipped it yet, so I'm going to unzip jar xvf and data volume, and I am going to import read the lab document. So in my case, it's labs and Docker volume index here. Okay, and let me just increase the font size here a bit. Okay, so we're gonna do exercise 1. So let's first take a look at the help of Docker run. If you do, you are going to see this volume related the flag -v. So let's actually say Docker the run -- help. Okay, and you're going to see this volume so this volume list or -v, and we're gonna actually see how we can use the volume volumes from later on. So right now just focus on this guy. So bind mount a volume, which means that if you specify the name of the volume, then that volume will be created. Okay, all right, so we are going to run, so we're going to use a busybox. So here we're going to say Docker run -- name, we're going to just say container1, and then we are going to specify -v, and the name of the volume we are creating is data. Okay, if you want to give a different name, that's perfectly fine. So I might as well just give another name like a data1, and then we're gonna actually run busybox. Okay, all right, oops. Oh, so I have already container1. All right, so I'm gonna just say container11 like this. Okay, whatever name of your choice. So let's say Docker oh, you know what, I think I want to actually run it in interactive mode. Okay, so let's actually remove this container. Docker container remove container11. Okay, and let me just remove the container1 as well so that I can actually use the container. Okay, so we're gonna run the container1 in interactive mode. So here I'm gonna say -it like this. All right, so now if you list the directory, you see there is a data1. That is the volume that gets created. Okay, by the way, you can think of a volume is a directory in the container. Okay, so we have a data1. So let's create a file under data1 data volume directory. So I'm going to go to data1 here, and let's create a file. So I'm going to touch the hello.txt file, or I can just have some message. So here I'm going to say echo hello and hello text file. And if I see the content of hello.txt file, it should say hello. Okay, and then we are going to actually exit out. Okay, what I want to do is, even if once I exit out, this container 11, yes, this is container 11, is in exited status, right? So if I say docker ps, there should be no containers up and running. Oh, okay, this is my actually old one, so it's not running container 11. And if I say docker ps-a, you can see the container 11 is in exited status, right? Okay, however, because the volume is still there, we are going to be able to actually restart this container 11, and then we can attach it and you can verify it. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to do. Okay, by the way, before we do that, let's inspect the container. So if you inspect the container, there is what is called the mounts. So this is basically the collection of all the data volumes. Okay, so let's see docker inspect container 11. So you can see here there is a mount point. Okay, so you can see the destination is the data1. So this is basically name of the volume. The actual data is actually in this directory of your host machine. Okay, in this case Docker machine. And another one that you might want to pay attention is this read and write equals true. That means I should be able to read the data under this volume, and I can write the data this volume. Okay. All right, you can also take a look at the list of volumes by using docker volume ls, and you can see there is actually one. I actually have a 3, but you're gonna actually see just one. So docker volume in this case, if you see the mount point here, A6166, and that is actually one of the this guy. This is one of the volumes that has been created. Okay. All right, so now we are gonna restart the container, and then we should be able to actually go to that the data one in this case, and we should be able to actually see the hello text. Okay, so in this case, we are actually verifying the fact that even if the container is not running, the data in the volume still persists. And in the next the lab, we're gonna actually remove the container and see whether the data is still there, as well. Okay, so here let's actually restart the containers, docker restart and container 11. Okay, and then we're gonna attach it. So docker and attach container 11. And now if I take a look at the data 1 is still there, and if I go to data 1, and the file is still there. So if I take a look at the hello.txt file, you can see it contains the hello, the text message that I have echoed it into. So this verifies that even if the container was actually stopped, the persisted the data is still there. Right? So this is kind of obvious. So let's actually exit out. The next one is we are going to in fact remove the container and see whether the data is still there. Okay? So we are going to see docker PSA, and we're going to actually see container 11. Container 11 is still in exited status, right? Okay, so we're going to actually remove the container. So docker container remove, and container in this case container 11. Okay, so we should have no longer the container 11, okay, as verified here, right? Okay, all right, so now we are going to see whether the volume is still there. So you can say docker volume ls, and you can see it is still there. So the persisted data is still there, meaning even if the container that creates the data is removed, the volume still stays there. So we can actually verify the data. So you can actually go to the host machine. So I'm gonna actually go to docker machine SSH, and we're actually dealing with the default. So basically we are going to actually go to default. In the meantime, I want to actually have this guy, I need to have this access here, the mount point. The mount point is where is the mount point? Config, yeah, here you go. Okay, the one I want to actually go to is this one. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy this guy, and I'm going to just type it here so that I can access it. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually go to docker machine and SSH, and basically we are going to default docker machine, right? Okay, so basically we are accessing the shell. Okay, and basically we want to actually see the contents of this directory to see whether it contains that hello.txt file. Okay, so that's basically what I want to do. So by the way, in order to access that directory, you have to be a super user. Okay, because this is sort of the system data that is being maintained by the Docker, the user, right now, who am I, is basically who am I. So you're actually a Docker, and Docker does not have enough permission to access this directory. So you have to be a super user. So in order to be a super user, say sudo -i, and then you're gonna be a super user. Okay, so you can actually go to this directory. So I can go to, let's say, this directory, cd, and here. Okay, and you can see there is actually this A6, right? This is the one I'm trying to access it here. Okay, this guy. So I'm gonna go to cd A6 and tab. Okay, so now if I see here, you can see there is also data underscore the data directory. And let me just increase this guy. And then here ls, you can see there is hello.txt file. Okay, so if I say cat hello.txt, you can see, that's the file that we saw, right? So basically, when you create a volume, Docker internally create some directory in your host machine, and and then data is persisted there. Okay, so I'm gonna just exit out from our host machine. So that's basically what we did here. Now, if you want to prune the volume, meaning you want to remove all the volumes that are not being used by any container, then you can prune the volume. So right now I have actually 3 volumes. Actually, in your case you should have just 1, but in my case, since I played around with it, I have actually 3 volumes. So Docker volume ls, and you should actually see just 1. Okay, so I'm going to just prune it. Docker Docker volume and prune. So when you say Docker volume prune, basically I want to remove all the volumes that are not being used by any container. Okay, okay, so let's see if I can volume ls, and there is no volume left. Okay, all right. So that's basically what you did. You could actually remove the container. If you're using -v, then it will actually remove the container, and at the same time it will remove the volume of the container as well. So if you have a situation where you want to make sure you want to remove the volume along with the container, then you can use -v option. Okay, so I'm gonna actually let you do this exercise, and I ask you to do this for your own exercise as well. So create your own volume called my data with a newly created container called my container in interactive mode, and then create a file under this my data. Just you can touch it, or you can echo some contents into a file or whatever, and then you exit the container, restart and attach my container, and verify the file still exists under my data volume. So basically repeating the step 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3 using your own data. Okay, so I'll give you guys about 10 minutes to do the 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, and as well as 1.4 for your own exercise. Okay, so let's continue. So if you created a volume using -v and just name of the volume in the container, it will actually persist the data in that randomly created host machine. Now you could actually specify the source the directory of your host machine using so you can actually mount a host directory as a volume rather than randomly selected directory in the host machine. So let's see the syntax of it. So in addition to creating a volume using -v flag, you can also mount a directory from your Docker machine's host into a container if you specify the host directory using /host directory. So in this case, I am going to add a volume called web app. However, that container's web app volume will be mounted from this host machine's src web app directory. So you can specify the host machine's directory as the source. All right, so that is the exercise 2. So if you take a look at the exercise 2, oops. Okay, so here we are going to we're gonna actually see there is as well. Yeah, so if you actually go to Docker machine SSH again, So let's go to Docker machine SSH. Okay, and basically you are going to be in the home directory. So if you say pwd, and we have home Docker, right? All right, so if you see ls here, that is basically, oh, this is the one that I created before. You shouldn't actually see any of this. Okay, you know what, I'm gonna actually delete this guy. So I'm gonna say backup tar here, oops, remove backup tar. You don't have to do this, this is my old, and I'm gonna actually remove data as well, remove rf data. Okay, so at this point you should not have anything under the home directory. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna actually create a data directory here. So I'm gonna actually, again, I'm gonna create the data2, just to be different from the document. I'm gonna create a data2, and I'm gonna go to data2 here. I'm gonna create some file. I'm gonna call it message. So hello JPassion.com, and I'm gonna create the JPassion.com text message or something like that. So now I have this JPassion.txt file under the data2. Okay, so basically the directory here is home docker data2, and this is the directory I want to actually mount into a volume of a container. Okay, all right, so that's basically what I want to do. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna just exit out from this host machine, and then we are going to mount host directory as a volume. So here now we're gonna say docker run -- name container 12. I'm gonna give container 12, and then we're gonna actually run it as interactive mode. And also I'm gonna specify that directory that I have created, okay, as a source directory, and the volume is data. Okay, so I'm gonna actually use the different things as well. So data2, and I'm gonna actually make this one as a data2 as well. So here -v, and I have to specify the directory with always as absolute path. Okay, so you cannot use a relative path. Okay, so you have to always start with a forwarding slash, and then it's gonna be home docker, and the directory I created here was data2, right? Data2, okay, colon, and then the name of the volume. Again, you have to specify the name of the volume using / as well. So I'm going to call it data2 as well. Okay, and then I'm going to use a busy box container. Okay, all right, so let's actually see now. If I actually go to data2, okay, first of all, if you say ls, let me just go up there. If I say ls, there is a data2 volume that is actually coming from this guy, and the actual data is coming from this, because this host machine's directory is mounted to this volume, right? So that's the reason if I go to data2, I see in fact the jpassion.com text file that I created in the host machine, right? So if I say cat jpassion.com text file, and you can see it contains the text that I created before. Okay, so that's basically what I just did. Okay, and you can actually go to the host machine, and then we can change the contents, or I can actually change the contents right here. So I'm going to actually add something, echo, I'm going to add some more contents, 2017 and jpassion.com text. Okay, so now if I do see the contents of jpassion.com text, it now contains, oops, oh, I should actually, I should actually have the double arrow sign rather than, so it's actually in this case it's actually replacing jpassion.com. All right, that's fine. We're gonna actually go to, now we're gonna exit out, and then we're gonna actually go to this host machine, and when we take a look at the contents of jpassion.com, it should actually contain 2017. okay? Because you can change the contents in either containers volume or in the host machine, okay? So I'm gonna actually go to the host machine, docker machine SSH, and here I should actually see data 2 here, and there is a JPassion.com. So if I say JPassion.com text, it should actually contain 2017. So this time I'm gonna actually add contents to JPassion.com, and then we're gonna actually go back to the container. Okay, so here echo live your life with passion, and I'm going to add it, okay, and jpassion.com, okay, jpassion.text. So if I see jpassion.text file right now, it should actually contain the first line is 2017, and then second line is live your life with passion, okay. So I'm gonna exit out, okay. You know what, I'm gonna actually okay, if I actually create another okay, so let's actually do that. So I'm gonna actually create another terminal, and I have to say the docker machine env, and I have to set the environment variable, okay, setting environment variables pointing to default Docker machine. Okay, so I'm gonna actually create the Docker machine. Basically I can actually reattach if I see Docker PSA, we have a container 12, right? So I can actually restart. Right now is exited status, so I can say Docker restart and container 12, and I can attach I can attach container 12 again. Okay, now if I see data 2, I'm gonna go to data 2 directory, and then I should actually see the contents jpassion.com. You should actually have 2 lines. Oops, jpassion.text file. Now it contains 2017 and the live your life with passion. So in this exercise, we verify that you can mount host machine's source directory into a data volume of a container, and you can actually change the contents in either the host machine or container, because they actually are pointing to the same physical directory. Okay. All right, so that's basically what we did. And in fact, if you inspect the container, so we can say I'm gonna just exit out. You can inspect Docker, inspect container, in this case 12. You can actually see the mount point now is a mount point. Yeah, so you can see the source is home Docker data 2, and the volume name is data 2 here. Okay, and the read and write is still true. Okay, all right, so that's basically what we have done. So for your own exercise, I want you to create home Docker my host data directory in the host machine, and then run a container with -v, and then you specify your host machine's directory, in this case home Docker and my host data, and then your volume name is my data. So you're going to create a file under my data in the container and verify that file exists in the host machine. Okay, and you can actually change in the host machine as well as in the container. Okay, so I will give you guys about 5 to 10 minutes to do exercise 2. All right, guys, let's get back to the presentation. Okay, so now what we have seen so far was that we specify either host directory, or if you don't specify the host directory, the host directory will be created by the container. Now, when you specify host directory, I said that you have to use a /. Okay, if you do not specify the /, then the next the string is considered as a name of the volume. Okay, so basically if you say docker run name container 3 -it and then -v and without the /, then this my own volume is actually considered as a volume. Okay, so that is basically how to create a volume. And you can also create a volume by using a Docker volume create command as well. Okay, so that is actually our next exercise. All right, so here we are going to create my own volume. Again, if you don't specify the / and it is considered as the name of the volume. So Docker will create a volume called my own volume. Okay. All right, so let's actually create the so we're gonna say Docker run -- and name and container. I'm gonna say 13. And then the interactive mode, and then what we are going to specify is -v and without the /, meaning this is going to be the name of the volume that I'm creating, and then this is the volume in the container. Okay, so -v, I'm going to say my own volume and colon, and then -data. I'll say data 3 and busy box. Okay, so I am going to if I say ls, you can see there is a data 3 directory which is containers volume here. Okay, all right, so let's actually create the cd data 3. Just create the some contents, echo 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and then I'm gonna say message.txt file, something like that. Okay, and then let's exit out. Okay, so basically what we see is now is there is a volume created. So if you say Docker volume ls, you can see there is the my own volume has been in fact created. Okay, so you can take a look at the Docker volume help. So Docker volume -- help, and you can create a brand new volume. You can inspect it. You can list all the volumes. You can prune the volumes that are not being used by any container, and you can actually remove volumes here. Okay, I can actually create a new volume by using Docker volume create as well. So I'm going to say Docker volume create and my own volume 20, something like that. So now if you see Docker volume ls, you can see there are 2 volumes. Okay, now let's take a look at the you can actually inspect the volume. So let me see whether I have yeah, so you can actually inspect your own volume. So here Docker volume inspect, and if you specify any of the name of the volume, and you can see it displayed the mount point. So the mount point is this. So basically, if you're not specifying your own volume, basically Docker will generate some kind of random number, and that's the directory it will create a data here, right? But in this case, it's going to actually use the name that you specify as the name of the volume. Okay, same thing with my own volume 2. Oops, volume 20. Okay, like this. And again, if you actually go to this directory, you should be able to see anything that you actually create under data 20. Where is the so whatever volume that you specify when you create a container. Okay, so now we should be able to access the volume from another container. So I'm going to actually create another container. So Docker run -- name container, I'm going to say 15, and then interactive mode, and -v, and here we are going to specify the name of the volume. So this is the same directory that was created before, right? So my own volume, my own dash volume, and here I'm gonna actually say data 6 or something like that for this container. So busy box. Okay, so here we can say, you can see there is a data 6, so we're gonna actually create a file here. So we are gonna go to data 6, and I say the echo, I am data created by container 15, and I'm gonna say message.txt file. Okay, so we actually see message.txt file. Okay, so if I actually go to this volume from another container, I should be able to actually access the same contents. Okay, so that's basically what I think we are gonna do. Oh, okay, so we didn't do that exercise, but that's kind of obvious. So let's actually do that here. I am going to, so this is actually the contents created by container 15, right? So I'm gonna just exit out, and I'm gonna create the same container. I'm gonna create another container with, in this case, container 16, and I'm actually using the same volume name, and I'm gonna say this one is gonna be I could actually use the data 6 if I want to, so I'm gonna just use the same volume name for this guy. Okay, all right, so now if I go to I go to your data 6, I should be able to see the message that I created here. Okay, because they actually point to the same volume, right? So if I see cat message.txt, the text file, it should actually contain I'm data created by container 15. Okay, all right, so that is an exercise. So by the way, you can actually remove the volume, so you can say docker volume and remove, and you can specify my own volume and my volume too. Okay, all right, so let's actually remove the volumes. So docker volume remove, and then my own volume and my own volume 20. Okay, and then if I say, oh, unable to, so this is actually new news. So so you can actually remove the volume. It is actually being used at this point. So we probably have to actually remove the container. So let's say docker ps. Okay, so docker ps-a. So we have these containers. So we can so docker we could actually remove the containers along with the volume. So if I say docker container remove and container 12, so I could actually use the -v option, then it will remove the volumes. Container 12, and I'm gonna say container 13, container 14, container, oh, we don't have 14. Okay, so it's 15 and 16. Okay, so now if I say docker volume list, we should not actually see, oh, now I should be able to remove the volume. Docker volume remove my own dash volume, like that. Okay, so now if I say docker volume list, there should not be any volume left. Okay, so for your own exercise, I want you to create another volume called your own volume and mount it to your data directory, meaning your data volume of the container 5, and create a file, your file, the text file under your data directory of the container 5, run container 6 mounting whatever different container number, your own home your own volume and verify you can access the file, your text file, list the volumes, and remove the volume. Okay, so I'll give you guys about the 5 to 7 minutes to do exercise 3. All right, next topic is data volume container. So what is it? So if you happen to have some persistent data that you want to share between containers, and if you want to have some non-persistent containers to access some data that is created in persistent container, you can create what is called the data volume container, and then other containers can access that the container, data volume of the container, using volumes from the option. So you say volumes from and the name of the container that has the data volume. Okay, so first you could create a data volume container. So by data volume container, I'm talking about a container that has data volume. Okay, so here Docker run, and I'm gonna actually call it master container because this is the one that actually has the volume. So in this case, the name of the volume is going to be master data. And then from other containers, or other containers could be persistent container of its own, or it could be non-persistent container, meaning it doesn't have any persistent data, it doesn't have any volume on its own, and it could access the volume of the data volume container using -- volumes from and the name of that master container. So here we create a master container that has master data volume, and then we are going to create another container. I'm going to call it slave container, and then we are going to access the container of, the volumes from the master container using -- volumes from. Okay, all right, so let's do the exercise 4. So here we are going to create a master container. You can name it in any way you want, but I just want to have this one as a master that maintains a volume, and the slave container is just accessing the volume of the master container. So I use the name of the terms of a master container and slave container, and you can actually use whatever terms of your own. Okay, so we're going to actually create the master container with this volume, and then we're going to actually create the slave container 1 and slave container 2, accessing all the volumes from this master container. Okay, so here we are creating slave container 1, slave container 2, and all these containers should be able to actually share the volume. Okay, so we're gonna actually make some changes in various containers and see we can access those data in other containers as well. So let's actually follow the steps. So the first one, we're gonna create the master container. So Docker, I'm gonna just go to the here, Docker run -- master container. Since we're gonna have just a single master container, we're gonna just name it as a master container, and then we're gonna actually have IT interactive mode. I'm gonna just copy this guy. Okay, all right, so we are creating master data volume. So if I should actually see master data here, right? And I'm gonna actually just create some file, echo I am master, and master, I'm gonna just say message, the text file. Okay, and ls, and we're gonna exit out. So we created a container that has a master data volume. Okay, now we're gonna actually create the slave container, which wants to access the volumes of the master container. Okay, so here Docker run -- name, gonna say slave container 1. So we're gonna actually create 2 slave containers accessing the master container, and then I'm gonna actually make it interactive mode, and then -- volumes from, and then you specify the name of the master container. So master container, and then we're gonna actually name it as busybox image, okay. Okay, so so I actually misspelled. It should be master volumes from, okay. Okay, so now if I see ls, you can see I have a master data. That is a volume from the master, right? Okay, so if I go to, in fact, master data, I should actually see the file that I have created through the master container. So if I see message, the text file, you can see I'm a master message, okay? And we're gonna exit out. Now we're gonna actually create the slave container 2. And again, it's actually accessing the same volumes from the master container, and it should work pretty much the same. So again, master data, and if I see the contents of message, that text file, you can see I'm a master. So I'm going to actually make a change in this message.txt file. So echo I am I am slave container 2, something like that, and then I'm going to add to the end of the message, so message.txt file. Okay, so if I say message text file, okay, so it does have I'm a master and then I'm slave container 2. So I am going to actually go to the slave container 1. So I'm going to say docker attach. We're going to actually restart first. Restart slave container 1, and then docker attach slave container 1, and we'd actually docker misspelled attach it, and slave container 1. Then we should actually see master data, master data, and here we should actually see message.txt file, and it should have 2 strings. So message.txt, and you can see it contains I'm a master and I'm also a master container 2. Yes, so these are the messages that are added by the master container and the slave container 2. Okay. All right, so basically here you can see whatever volume of a container can be shared by other containers using --volumes from the flag. Okay. All right, so that's what we did for that 2, and for that 3, yeah, and so that is what we did. The next one is you can actually chain the volume. So basically I can create another container. I'm going to call it slave container 3, and instead of actually from master container, I can specify the slave container 1 or slave container 2, and basically whatever volumes that are the access by slave container 1, in this case is going to be the volumes of the master container, right? It will be in fact figured out by the slave container 3. So it knows that the slave container 1 is mounted with the master container, and so this should be able to access the master data directory as well. So that is basically chaining. So docker run and -- name, I'm going to say slave container 33, and -it, and let's say volumes from. So instead master container, I can say the slave container, I'm going to use 2 because slave container 2 also has volumes from the master container, and then busybox. Okay, now here if I say ls, you can see it does have a master data here. Okay, again, so if I go to master data, okay, and it has message.txt file, so I can say message.txt file. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna add a message from the container 33. So echo I am slave container 33, and I'm gonna just append to message that text file. Okay, and then exit out. And if I again attach to any of the containers, master container or slave container 1, 2, and slaver, yeah, so since this is actually created, this message added in the container 33, I'm gonna just attach to container 1. So docker restart container the slave container 1, and then docker attach slave container 1, and oops, oh, misspelled, attach. Okay, all right, so ls, and we should say master. Okay, and then if I display the message, the text file, it should have 3 messages. One message from a master container, another message from container 2, and another message from slave container 33. Okay, so in this case, all 4 containers actually share the same volume. Okay, all right, so that is that. And okay, so for your own exercise, I want you to create another master container called the my master container with a volume called my master volume, and then create the slave container called my slave container 1 and my slave container 2, accessing my master volume of the my master container, and create a file in in my slave container 2, and then verify you can read it from the other containers. Okay, so I'll give you guys about the 7 minutes to finish exercise 4. All right, so last topic of data volume. So backup, restore, or migrate data volumes. So the another useful function for usage of volume is to use them for backups and restores and migrations. So let's do the lab, and in fact that's the last lab here today. So we're gonna actually do the backup, and then we're gonna actually restore. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay, so it's a little bit involved. It's not as simple as previous cases, but it's not that bad. Okay, first we're gonna back up a volume. So here we're gonna say docker run remove. So this option -- remove is basically once this container is up and running, it will be removed after it's done. Okay, so if you say docker run -- help, and you're going to see -- remove. Where is -- remove here? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so this one is automatically remove the container when it exits. Okay, so here basically only thing we do with this container is in fact creating a backup file. Okay, so here we are going to use volumes from master container. So this is the one that we have created before, right? So master container has volumes, a master data volume, right? Okay, so we are going to basically use the same volume of this master container by using volumes from. Okay, and then it does create its own volume called the backup. Okay, and it's going to be actually mounted from the source directory of the host machine, which is home and docker. Okay, and then we are creating busybox container here, and then what we do is that once this container is up and running, we are going to execute this command. So here we're going to actually execute the tar command. So we're going to use a tar cvf, and we are going to create a backup.tar file from the master data. So this master data is actually coming from this master container volume, right? Okay, so basically what we are going to do is we are going to create a backup tar file from the master data volume of our master container. Okay, All right, so once you have done that, I'm gonna just copy this command because I don't want to type these things incorrectly. I think master container, yeah, so I'm gonna just here. Okay, so you basically create the backup top file from this the master data directory and message.txt file. Okay, and you should be able to actually see that file from your host machine. So if I go to host machine, docker machine and SSH, I should actually see the backup.top file here. Okay, so that's what you see here, right? Backup.top file. Okay, all right, so backup top file was created. Okay, now we are going to migrate this backup file. We're going to actually restore this backup file into another container. I'm going to call it master container 2. So basically we are migrating the contents in the master container to master container 2. So we're going to create the master container 2. Okay, and we are going to create our own. We are going to actually create our own master data here. Okay, and then basically we are going to actually just go to this master data, and there should not be anything because we haven't restored anything yet. Okay, so I'm going to just do this. Okay, and if you take a look here, we should have a master data because we actually that is the volume we created. Idea is that we won't have those backup.top file to be untarred in this directory. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna just exit out. Okay, so just verify that there is nothing on the master data. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to again, we're going to actually run the container. We're going to actually remove it when it exits out. So we are going to, volumes from master container 2, and then, oh, you know what? Yeah, so this one is a master container 2, right? Yeah, so we are going to, use the volume. We're going to actually get the volume from master container 2, which we have created here, master data, right? Okay, and then we also create our own so this is the backup directory. We're going to create a backup from host docker. So if you remember, host docker, the home docker in the host machine contains a backup.top file, right? And then what we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to use Ubuntu, and you're using bash, and then this is the command that we want to execute once this Ubuntu is up and running. We go to master data directory of this master container 2, and then we are going to untar the backup.top file. Okay, so basically backup.top file is actually from backup.top file from the host machine's home, the docker, and strip 1 is basically we are removing the root directory. Okay, so if you do this, we are basically untar the backup.top file in the master container 2. So I actually explained those things here in detail. Basically I just explained it, but you can actually read these things. Okay, all right, so let's actually run this command. Okay, and then if I go to so I can go to the master container 2. So I can restart docker restart and master container 2, and we are going to attach master container 2. So basically what I want to verify is that message.txt file is now under the master data directory. Okay, okay, and ls and the master data. Now I should actually see the message.txt file. Okay, so so you can see message.txt file. Okay, all right, so basically here we basically did create a tar file from contents from master container, and then we just untar that tar file into another container, in this case master container 2. Okay, so for your exercise, I want you to create another file in the master data directory through either host or container. Make a backup file called mybackup.tar file, and then we are going to restore it into a container called the master container 3. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys about the 5 to 10 minutes to do this, and then we're going to call it a day.